Hello and welcome to our channel. Today, we will delve into the chilling life of one of America's most notorious serial killers, Dennis Rader, better known as the BTK killer. The name BTK stands for bind, torture, kill, a chilling representation of his methodical and sadistic approach to murder. We'll explore his early life, the heinous crimes he committed, and the shocking events that led to his capture. Get ready for a deep dive into a dark chapter of American crime history. Dennis Rader was born on March 9, 1945, in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Growing up in a traditional and strict household, Rader often found himself in conflict with his parents, particularly his mother, who displayed favoritism toward his siblings. This environment may have contributed to his feelings of isolation and resentment. From a young age, Rader exhibited troubling behaviors. He showed a fascination with violence and control, often harming animals. These early signs were alarming, but went unnoticed by those around him. As he grew older, Rader developed a penchant for sadistic fantasies, often daydreaming about power and domination. He found solace in the thrill of his dark thoughts, which he later described as a source of excitement. During his teenage years, Rader began to engage in voyeuristic activities, secretly observing women in their homes and feeling a rush from this illicit behavior. It was during this formative period that Rader's psychopathic tendencies began to take shape, setting the stage for the horrors he would later unleash. Rader committed his first known murder on January 15, 1974, when he brutally killed 16-year-old Catherine Bright. He lured her into a false sense of security before attacking her, a tactic he would repeat with future victims. This first murder was a turning point for Rader. It awakened a dark desire within him, and he felt an exhilarating sense of freedom after taking a life. Over the next 17 years, Rader would go on to kill a total of 10 individuals, each murder marked by a distinctive pattern of binding, torturing, and killing. His second victim, 19-year-old Nancy Fox, was murdered in April of the same year. Rader would often stalk his victims, gaining intimate knowledge of their lives, which allowed him to exploit their vulnerabilities. His methodical approach was chilling. He would bind his victims to inflict psychological terror and ultimately take their lives, all while maintaining a facade of normalcy in his everyday life. The victims included young women and men, many of whom were students or members of the local community. Rader would often take trophies from his victims, items that served as mementos of his horrific acts, further emphasizing his twisted sense of power. This spree of violence continued, instilling fear across Kansas, while Rader expertly evaded law enforcement. Rader's reign of terror was not only marked by his brutal killings, but also by his taunting correspondence with the police and media. In 1978, he began sending letters to local newspapers, signing them BTK. The letters detailed his murders and included specific instructions on how to bind and torture victims, revealing his sadistic thought process. The acronym BTK stood for bind, torture, kill, a fitting description of his gruesome methods. Rader reveled in the attention these letters garnered, using them as a means to assert control over both the police and the public. In these letters, he often posed riddles and questions challenging law enforcement to catch him while showcasing his intelligence and cunning. These communications created a media frenzy, drawing widespread attention to the BTK killer and further fueling the fear within the community. Many residents were left paralyzed by anxiety, unsure of when the killer would strike next. The police, overwhelmed and frustrated, struggled to identify the perpetrator despite Rader's frequent correspondence. Little did they know, the man behind the letters was living among them, maintaining a seemingly ordinary life. After years of evading capture, Rader's luck began to run out in 2005. He had continued to live a double life as a devoted family man and a respected member of the community, while still indulging in his violent fantasies. However, his need for attention led him to send another letter to the police, asking if he could communicate with them through a floppy disk. This was a critical mistake. The police were able to recover the data from the floppy disk, which had been used by Rader to send a message, and through their investigations, they traced it back to him. They found evidence linking him to the BTK murders, and he was arrested on February 25, 2005. The news of Rader's arrest sent shockwaves through the community. People were horrified to learn that the man living among them, a seemingly normal person, was responsible for such heinous acts. As the details of his crimes came to light, it became evident that Rader had deceived everyone around him, including friends, family, and law enforcement. In 2005, Dennis Rader was formally charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder. His trial captured national attention as the public sought answers to the questions surrounding his horrific actions. Rader, who had once relished in the attention, appeared almost nonchalant as he recounted his crimes in court. During the trial, Rader confessed to his actions, providing gruesome details about each murder. He attempted to justify his behavior, claiming it was the result of a compulsion he could not control. The courtroom was filled with the families of his victims, many of whom were emotionally shattered by the retelling of their loved one's last moments. The impact of his crimes was palpable, as the pain and suffering Rader inflicted on these families came to light. Ultimately, Dennis Rader was sentenced to 10 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole, ensuring that he would spend the rest of his life behind bars. His sentencing marked the end of a long chapter of terror, but left many with lingering questions about how someone could commit such horrific acts without remorse. Following his capture, mental health professionals sought to understand the mind of Dennis Rader. He was diagnosed with several personality disorders, including antisocial personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder. Rader's lack of empathy and remorse, coupled with his grandiose sense of self-importance, painted a disturbing picture of his psyche. During evaluations, Rader often displayed a sense of pride in his intelligence and cunning, viewing his murders as a means of expressing control. He justified his actions through a twisted logic, claiming that he was able to compartmentalize his violent urges from his everyday life. This ability to separate his identity as a family man from that of a killer made him a particularly chilling figure in the annals of criminal psychology. Psychologists and criminologists have studied Rader's case extensively, attempting to unravel the complexities of his personality and the factors that led to his violent behavior. His case serves as a stark reminder of the potential for darkness, that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary individuals. Dennis Rader's crimes left an indelible mark on America, particularly in Kansas, where the terror of the BTK killer had gripped communities for decades. The fear that enveloped the area during his killing spree changed how people perceived safety in their own neighborhoods. Parents became more cautious, and children were often warned about the dangers that lurked, even in seemingly safe environments. Rader's case also sparked significant discussions about law enforcement practices, community vigilance, and the effectiveness of criminal profiling. It highlighted the importance of vigilance in neighborhoods and the need for communities to work together to identify suspicious behavior. Rader's ability to blend into society demonstrated the complexities of detecting and apprehending serial killers. Moreover, Rader's story prompted media outlets to focus on the phenomenon of ordinary monsters, individuals who appear normal yet commit horrific acts. It challenged society to confront uncomfortable truths about the nature of evil and the potential for darkness that can reside within us all. In conclusion, Dennis Rader is not just a name. He represents a chilling narrative of how a seemingly ordinary person can harbor extraordinary darkness. His story serves as a warning, a reminder of the evil that can exist within our midst. As we reflect on Rader's life and crimes, let us remain vigilant in our communities and continue to engage in discussions about crime, safety, and the psychology of violence. Thank you.